Big companies can spend millions trying to get the right kind of attention from the press and from the public, but they still don't always get it right. In April last year, Pepsi enraged the world with a campaign that implied their drink could quell the fury at a Black Lives Matter protest, undermining and hijacking the entire cause. Then, in September, photo giant Nikon launched its new camera by asking the world's best photographers to try it out. Then, Nikon asked 32 men and 0 women to take part, leading to a backlash against the brand. And what connects those two stories? While their campaigns were strong in some ways, both failed to take the perspective of a significant portion of their audience. And perspective taking can be powerful. Social psychologist Adam Galinsky explains that when I take your perspective and I think about what you really want, you're much more likely to give me what I really want. And what do other people want that can lead to you getting great press and links? Well, journalists want stories that are newsworthy, suitable for their readership, and in many cases ready to publish. Consumers often want to see their own work and personal stories championed in the press. If you can use the narrative, expertise and resources available to you through your business to give others what they really want, you're much more likely to get the press and links your company deserves. But how can you give them these things? I'm going to give you 5 tools which will help you use perspective taking to earn press and links without the need for a big business budget. One thing journalists really want and many marketers forget is photos. Recognise this? On the left, that's Meghan Markle, who will become a real-life princess in May, sitting on the railings in front of Buckingham Palace when she was only 15 years old. It was published by all the nationals in November, an example of an image really bringing a story to life. Pictures can determine story selection and dictate the media agenda, and there are a number of ways small businesses can use them to get press. Number 1, get a photo shoot. Your company has a story or a number of stories which will be interesting to the press, but a photo shoot will help you to tell and to sell those stories. Who can you hire for a shoot though, when your budget's really tight? One trick is to contact the photo desk of your local newspaper. They will give you details for local photographers who can provide you with news quality photos at a really good price. They've already done the research and they're happy to recommend their freelance friends. Once you've found a photographer, get some photos of your founders, which help to illustrate what your company does. These will be invaluable for getting you press for years to come. And get users to provide you with high quality images. One campaign I worked on got a link from the BBC, involved someone who won a selfie competition we ran, with a selfie taken on top of a mountain. And if you sell tangible products, get high quality photos of those with a white or transparent background. Because everyone, news, magazines, blogs, loves to publish gift guides and buying guides. There are hundreds of them. This is a piece of coverage we got complete with a followed link for a client using an image of their product with a white background. But we had to know when the publisher was looking for products for their gift guide. And sometimes there's a window of maybe a few hours. And journalists often need an expert opinion on a particular topic. In many cases, even as a small company, you can be the expert. And it's by doing this that we got one company press and links from all these places. But how did we know what the journalists were looking for and when? Tool number 2, responsals. Service I'd recommend every small business invests in. Journalists use the platform to send out queries about articles they're writing to PR people and businesses who can respond to those queries and get press and links in the process. Also, remember to follow the journal request hashtag on Twitter and receive the free Harrow email, help a reporter out. But bear in mind, those are free. The competition is far higher and it might take you a lot longer to get a good amount of press and links from that. And you need to become an expert at responding to press queries quickly and effectively, providing journalists with exactly what they want. Also, think about the moment the journalist sends out a query. At that moment, they don't know if they'll get one reply or hundreds. So if you can be first and reply within the hour with exactly what they want, you've got a much better chance of getting press and links. But also consider from their perspective, they need to be able to justify why they've chosen you to quote as the expert. So give them an interesting, relevant quote and give them and their readers reasons to believe you're the expert. Mention well-known clients, awards and other achievements in a way that can be published directly ahead of the quote. But sometimes you'll want to be proactive in getting press, working out for yourself what journalists will want and when, and providing them with just the right content at just the right time by skillfully predicting the future. Many sites will show you upcoming events and awareness days, so you can work out when to target journalists with relevant content. But a good way to get ahead of the competition is to look for the upcoming events that other people might not have noticed. To do this, you need to know the press around your industry and around your consumers' needs and interests inside out. Just read all the time. When a new law was going to increase the penalties for using a mobile phone while driving, we got in touch with the Department for Transport on behalf of a safety-related client and found out something which hadn't been published anywhere. By looking into the future, we gave ourselves more time than our competitors. More time to put together a media package that would be irresistible to the press. We took the perspective of the consumer, thinking, what will they want to know on that date? We ran a survey showing how many people still use their phone at the wheel and created an image which made the details of the new law much easier to digest. Now, a national survey will often cost thousands to conduct. With money tight, we used a Google survey designed to get all the information we needed within one question. This kind of survey is 1/10 the cost of a Google survey with more than one question, about 10p per response. Another cheap way to conduct a survey is via Twitter polls. Targeted carefully to relevant, engaged users, you can gain 2,000 responses for under £100. The mobile campaign gained coverage and links from dozens of sites, including ITV, but right from the beginning, we took the perspective of publishers thinking, who else might this be relevant to, and how can we tailor it to them? The trick here was to use a multiple choice question for the Google survey, leading to multiple potential headlines tailored to different publishers. One group was HR sites, who we could suggest that workplaces discourage employers from answering work emails at the wheel. And every element of the survey question was designed to generate specific headlines for specific pre-planned groups of sites, who would then have a relevant statistic to legitimately publish a story for their readers. The image, meanwhile, used the precise wording of the written guidelines on the government website, but made those guidelines much more clear. What kind of dry industry information could your client do something similar with for the price of an image created by a designer? Another way to take a journalist's perspective is to think about what they'll need to publish your story. So get everything ready for them in a way that they can use it. This includes writing a press release effectively. The first thing you need is a story. If you want it to be published by news sites, it has to be news. It needs to have a hook that makes it new. News stories work best if there's an element of surprise, if it's something people care about, if there are fresh, verifiable statistics, and if there's a news peg, something big that's already happened, which your story relates to. When you're writing the release, it should read just like news. That means write to the standard inverted pyramid. Eliminate jargon and sales pitches. Get straight to the point. And write in the third person so it's all ready to publish. And think carefully about how to get your link included, because for a journalist to include a link, it's not enough that you want one in there, because they'll need something called editorial justification. They need to be able to justify the link from the perspective of their typical reader. So provide something useful on your site that's not available in the release, or give the reader something to do on your site, like enter a competition or register for something they'll value. But what if you include something in your press release that accidentally puts the journalist off using your story? We wanted to know firsthand what kinds of things really aggravate journalists today, things which we could train businesses to avoid to increase their chance of success. So my business partner, who happens to be a Guardian journalist, posted on a journalist Facebook group. This is what he said. Within an hour, the post had gained over 200 replies, with journalists complaining about incorrect names, pointless capitalisation, PDFs where they couldn't cut and paste, burying the story too far down, industry jargon, and marketing speak. Here are some direct quotes from their comments. Number 1, make a tenuous connection to a news story. Royal wedding happening? This is a great opportunity to get coverage for a cordless drill. The news peg gone wrong. Number 2, fill it with meaningless jargon about key performance indicators and leverage. Number 3, 2 C-list editors in the subject line. I had that once. Number 4, once had a press release about an album whose predecessor apparently literally flew off the shelves. Number 5, first line 3 years ago. For a release about a band, I nearly replied with a definition of news. Number 6, describe something as with a difference, reimagined, unique, or with a twist. And the last one, had one recently which claimed to actually alter the fabric of time. You can read the whole list by Googling 130 ways to annoy a journalist. Once you have your story, photos and interested journalists ready, how else can you get more coverage on a budget? Find the right communities to amplify your cause. No matter what the topic, there will be a number of engaged online communities with a reason to support your story. And the most invested groups can be better than the biggest. With the mobile story, it turned out that taxi drivers needed extra clarification about the new law. We were able to give them that information via the DFT, leading to weeks of interaction on Facebook and building trust with those potential customers. But if you have no budget at all, online communities can make all the difference to your campaign. Kyra Worrell was born with one leg 3 inches shorter than the other. It causes her a lot of problems, and the difference between the length of her legs increases as she grows. As the problems increased, doctors recommended amputation of the shorter leg, but Kyra didn't want that. All Kyra wanted was to have 2 feet flat on the floor, just like all her friends. Kyra's parents found an Israeli surgeon who was able to lengthen her leg, but they needed to raise over £50,000 in 2 months to pay for the first operation. In December, they kicked off a fundraising campaign. There was no budget for the fundraising, no budget for content, a photo shoot, for a survey, or for a designer. And sadly, there are lots of fundraisers out there looking for money for surgery. So we knew the story wasn't strong enough for the nationals. Yet. The family needed to have raised more money and be more successful for those papers to be interested. But we thought it could be strong enough for local press. So we needed to generate a domino effect. Something we'd witnessed countless times as journalists, a kind of news cascade, starting small and building and hopefully leading to Kyra's story going viral and to international press attention. A long shot maybe, but as it turned out, online communities would be key to this campaign's success. We wrote Kyra's story using emotive quotes from her mum. We made it ready to publish as news. We made sure that the link was included so everyone who read the article could click through and donate. We used the backbone of this strong press release, filled with interesting quotes and clear facts, to get as much local press as we could. Print, news sites, blogs, radio, TV, every media organisation connected with Brighton received the story, along with 2 high-resolution photos taken by Kyra's cousin, who is studying photography at college. The first article got published the next day by a small local news site. Soon others followed, and everyone who published, we made sure that the link to donate online was included. It had to remain part of that core story as it travelled up the news pipeline. As an online crowdfunder, this campaign had to have digital at its core. The story made the front page of the Brighton Argus over Christmas. They published what we'd sent them pretty much word for word, including that critical link to donate online. But their version also included a detail about the surgeon being Israeli. Now it was front page of a reasonably big local paper. That detail mattered and it got picked up. A journalist repurposed the story for the Jewish Chronicle. The story in the Chronicle marked a turning point for the campaign. It triggered a large number of donations from people who wanted to support the Israeli surgeon and his work. The article also triggered further press aimed at the Jewish community around the world. This led to huge numbers of donations, and the story was also picked up and shared among Facebook groups connected with the Jewish community. Never underestimate the power of an engaged Facebook group. We saw that many of those donations came from people in those groups, and the donations were enough to pay for the deposit. So Kyra was going to get her surgery. But there was more to come. As we predicted, with that level of success came more press. Kyra's story was picked up and published nationally, including interviews by the BBC and articles in national newspapers. The resulting donations brought the crowdfunding campaign to over £50,000, enough to pay for Kyra's first surgery in full. In February, Kyra flew to Israel, and the surgery was successful, meaning she's well on her way to having 2 feet flat on the floor, just like all her friends. To follow Kyra's story, visit the Twitter feed @StepWithKyra. Digital PR is possible on a shoestring, or even with no money at all. Follow these steps, and you'll be able to get big business press and links on a small business budget. Thank you.